podium.
Thank you very much. Firstly, I'd like to thank everybody for putting on the symposium. I think everything so far has worked out very, very nicely. And especially thanks to Kim for coming to Comox, hearing our story, and again providing us an opportunity to shed a little bit of light on what we've been up to in terms of restorative creek work and our involvement. My story is a bit of a personal journey, but a collective journey as well, and it comes more in keeping with keeping up the partnership theme and ultimately building and nurturing those relationships along the way. It's kind of a common thread that I've heard throughout the presentations, hearing words like cooperation and partnerships and relationships and working together. I don't think that many of these projects could really come to fruition unless that philosophy is held at the forefront of our minds. So bear with me, off we go on a little bit of a journey. And it relates to the power of partnerships and the Brooklyn Creek story. So, the partnership by definition, the state of being a partner, participation, a legal relation existing between two or more persons contractually associated as joint principals in a business, a relationship resembling a legal partnership and usually involving close cooperation between parties having specified or joint rights and responsibilities. When I look at the definition of partnership and put it into the context of how it applies to the Brooklyn Creek Watershed storyline, the word that really resonates the most with me is participation. And the participation borne by the participation that we've seen along the way and continues to grow out there is quite staggering. I believe that participation is born by interest, and interest is born by intuition, context, content, and imagination. When I look back some 30 years and reflect on my involvement with Brooklyn Creek, I can't help but to remind myself that what stands before us today is truly a remarkable and important natural community asset. It's loved and cared for by many. It's crafted by the determination and dedication of people and agencies willing to embrace opportunity and work toward a common goal. The asset we call Brooklyn Creek Watershed stands testament to the power of partnerships and the value derived from those relationships. Perception. What was once viewed in the early days by some as a simple and convenient urban drainage conveyance, others view it as a genuine opportunity. An opportunity presented by way of recognizing the fact that the watershed was much more dynamic and full of potential as it relates to the community value than first imagined decades ago. As our community steadily developed, so did the encouragement and the support for protecting and enhancing our natural open spaces. Subtle improvements made over time garnered the attention of the public, and the public spoke loud and clear that what they saw before them was truly a cherished asset and of great benefit to the community and ultimately to the region. As time progressed and public interest intensified, our politicians and community leaders took notice, recognized how closely aligned their love for the watershed was with that of the public. This recognition created an opening for fruitful discussion, clear staff direction, financial support from local and other senior levels of government, and we recognized that the winds of change were clearly upon us. As supporting momentum for enhancing the watershed experience gained traction, those intuitive and imaginative participants came forward looking for ways to help. The cross-section of people willing to volunteer their time was and still is inspirational, to say the least. Gone were the days of just simply breaking up log jams and addressing localized erosion and flooding. A new, more inclusive approach to stream management emerged, an approach embraced by a whole host of participants willing to put in the time and effort, participants willing to make a change. Let me please explain what I consider a new inclusive approach to stream management. I look at the Brooklyn Creek Watershed through a slightly different lens than what I did when first starting out with the Town of Comox back in the early 80s. Back then, our 3-person parks crew at the time worked in virtual isolation in the watershed, conducting routine flood prevention work devoid of any interaction or participation with others. It wasn't really much of an inclusive approach. And I use the term inclusive approach in the sense that the more perspectives, points of view, and talent base we can draw on, the more interesting and ultimately successful our stream management practices became. Partnerships come in many forms. Brooklyn Creek Watershed Enhancement story contains many chapters, dynamic in nature, much the same as the creek is itself. Each chapter contains content and messaging that speaks to the fact that every aspect of what has transpired over the years in terms of restorative creek enhancement were influenced by and resultant of good people working together. From community engagement to funding, bridge building to trail construction, artwork to regulatory signage, the end products reveal the telltale signs that many individuals and agency played pivotal roles in shaping the watershed and its enhanced sense of place. The partnerships created over time have turned into long-standing relationships, and they've been based on common goals, respectful dialogue, and many hours of hard work. A diverse collection of perspectives bundled up and broadcast across the watershed landscape, each stakeholder acknowledged in very subtle ways. The Brooklyn Creek Corridor Restoration and Enhancement Project would not have been possible without the help of many dedicated individuals and organizations. A great team and wonderful mix of backgrounds and disciplines helped create the overall strategy leading up to the physical works that we see in place today. Teams of consultants, school children, stewardship groups, homeowners, local government, senior levels of government. It's quite an incredible mix of participants. School kids and scholars, politicians, constituents, stewardship groups, service clubs, they're all there and they all help in immense ways. If we continue to work together, make time for one another, and continue to nurture the relationship born by partnership along the way, we can rest assured that our collective investment will surely pay dividends down the road. Because I'm a gardener, I have to use some gardening analogies to bring this back around. And so propagating new and maintaining old partnerships kinds of fits in with my background as a horticulturalist, and I had to take the chance to use it, so forgive me. I'd like to use a simple garden analogy to capture what I believe to be an important approach to propagating new and maintaining old relationships. Firstly, we have to plant the seed. We need to remind each other periodically that the work never ends, new ideas and opportunities are welcome, and that we should take the time to engage our local educators and school children and propagate a new crop of watershed stewards. 2, nurture. Care for the process, project, and product, but also those people and partnerships that have contributed to the success of what has been accomplished. Harvest. Gather those around you, introduce and showcase your involvement, share in your experience, having reaped the rewards. To me, the Brooklyn Creek Watershed experience, as I like to call it, is similar to watching your garden grow. You know that the seeds have been planted, you have provided a safe and welcome place for them to emerge and strengthen, and you are committed to nursing them along to maturity. In closing, I would just like to say that the Brooklyn Creek Restoration Project has been a long and rewarding journey for me and for others. It's been one full of determination, optimism, and hope, and it's been a collective vision shared by many with an action plan influenced and executed by the power of partnerships. Thank you very much.